Okay, how much can you realistically improve your 5K time in just 2 months, in just 60 days? Let me tell you about an athlete I started working with who was running 26 minutes and 47 seconds for 5K and had the modest but quite reasonable goal of a sub 25 minute 5K. Then I pushed him and asked him for his dream time. He told me sub 20 minutes, but he didn't think that was possible. Let me tell you exactly what we did in order to get him there in less than 2 months. It took me 5 months to go from not being able to break 25 minutes for 5K to being able to run 16 minutes and 30 seconds. And that was the initial step, the initial 5 months that I took, and then went on from there. But I've been coaching runners for years, and one thing I've learned is that the biggest breakthroughs come when you realize the mistakes that are holding you back and build belief in what you can achieve. This runner didn't just improve, he transformed. I'm going to show you how we did it. I'm going to break down exactly the steps that we took from dreaming about running faster times to actually achieving them. Now, we went through exactly what he was doing and exactly what he had been doing for the last 3 years and how he got to the point that he got to. And one of the first things I realized was he's been overtraining, and he's consistently overtraining to a point where he's constantly fatigued. How do we correct that? We made a schedule where it was clear when he'd be running easy and recovering and when he'd be running harder sessions. That means that then you can put more effort into the harder sessions, the sessions which are going to move you forward more. Now, we start off with going into detail about his life, what his life looks like, what his job looks like, what his family looks like, what his current training looks like, but also the background. Maybe he's got a background in sport, maybe a background in running, maybe it's a few years since he ran. In this case, he's been running 3 years, but he's kind of plateaued for the last couple of years and moved to this point where he just cannot break 26:47 for 5K, and it's getting frustrating for him. So he's looking at other methods and other areas of which he can improve, which is brilliant. And it's exciting for me to work with people like that because they come into it with, I feel as if I've done everything I possibly can, now I need some help. So these are in no particular order, but these are the mistakes and the fixes, the simple fixes that we made that you can use as well that helped him to go from running 26 minutes and 47 seconds to running sub 20, his dream goal for 5K. Number 1. Not running at goal pace, and definitely not running at dream goal pace for 5K, that 4 minutes per kilometer, that 20 minutes for 5K. If you're not running at the pace that you're trying to achieve in your race, you're not going to be able to do it in the race. It doesn't matter how much energy you get from the race and the people around you, how competitive you are, it's just going to be so much more difficult, if not impossible, for you to execute in the race if you've not already done it in segments in training. So you need to accumulate that time and get comfortable at running over the ground. In this case, our target was sub 20 minute 5K, so 4 minutes per kilometer. Now, for a lot of you, including him initially, until he trusted, it's going to seem like too big of a gap. We're trying to go from 27 minutes or 4:45 per kilometer to running at 4 minutes per kilometer for 5 kilometers. So 20 minutes of running at much faster than he can currently hold for 5K. You'd think that the natural progressions would be maybe, okay, let's get to 25 minutes first, and then maybe let's get to 24 and 23 and go from there. But when you see the mistakes that he was making, and these are common mistakes that people make, and you correct them, and it's slight course corrections, but they compound to make a completely different athlete, then you're looking at a new future in running. Mistake and fix number 2, removing limiting beliefs. Easy to say, easy to read on a quote on the internet. Very, very difficult to do yourself and then to put into practice and reap the rewards. Very easy for me as a coach to see because I've seen so many case studies before from athletes that I've coached that have done exactly this. But once we started working to 4 minutes per kilometer and he was able to run 100 meters at that, 250 meters at that, 500 meters at that, 10% of what we want to do in the future for 5K, he was then able to hold for 500 meters. All of a sudden, the limiting belief starts to move out of the way, gradually at first, and then all of a sudden. Mistake and fix number 3, overtraining. Now, many of us are guilty of this. But we often associate overtraining with big mileage. This guy was doing 35 kilometers a week, but was overtraining because he was going out, and every single time he would go out, he would go and train in the gray zone, in zone 3, above what he should be doing for a recovery run or easy run, but not fast enough to be moving his 5K forward. All we did is put into place a structure where he would run on certain days and rest on certain days. But when he was going recovery or easy, it was easy enough. When he was going faster on interval days and specific long runs, then he would put more effort in. And what he felt was a completely different body because he didn't have that constant fatigue, and he was able to push when it really counts. Which leads me nicely onto mistake and fix number 4, which is he wasn't running his recovery runs and easy runs slow enough. He's running them too fast, and that's a common mistake with most distance runners. If you look at your running, the chances are that you're running recovery runs and easy runs too fast is very high. What that means is, just as the previous point, is when you're trying to go hard, you're still fatigued, you're still tired from previous sessions, which you thought were recovery runs or easy runs, but were actually runs in zone 3, where actually you were putting effort in, there was maybe muscle breakdown, and therefore you come to do an interval session or a long run and you're just not fresh enough, so you cannot execute it properly enough. The biggest win that I see for most athletes is if you structure your training, ideally work with a coach, but structure your training and make sure your recovery runs and easy runs are low effort enough so that you're promoting recovery as the primary purpose of the run. So you're pushing oxygen-rich blood around the body, flush out the toxins, and get yourself recovered, ready to go hard again. Mistake and fix number 5. And if you get 4 right, this is way easier and makes way more sense. He was doing speed sessions. He was going to the club and doing interval sessions on the track, but very sporadically from time to time at best. And because he was running his recovery runs and easy runs too fast, he was too fatigued to really put it into the interval session and gain that super compensation, gain the improvement from that. Once we implemented consistent and structured interval sessions, but also the progressions, he became a completely different athlete. And once you go from running not so far enough from your 5K pace for most of your runs, whether recovery runs, easy runs, long runs, or intervals, to then running specific paces and efforts for each one of your sessions and really putting it into the interval session, not only do you physically and physiologically improve, mentally, you know that you're capable of running for sustained periods over the ground at what you once thought was a dream pace. So if you think about those 5 areas, not running your interval specifically at your dream 5K pace, having the limiting belief because you do not even think it's possible, overtraining, doing too much in the gray zone, not running your easy runs and recovery runs easy enough so you're not ready to really hit it when it counts, and then doing speed work but very sporadically from time to time and not consistently or in a structured way. If you think of just one of those areas and you implement, let's say just you run your recovery runs and easy runs, it's going to benefit your interval session even if you're still doing it sporadically. If you just change and do an interval session but do it consistently on a weekly basis, you will improve even if the rest of your training stays like in the gray zone and it's also incorrect. But imagine from those 5 areas if you move them all forward. So you remove the limiting beliefs. You get to a point where you can run for a sustained period of time, a decent sized interval session at the pace that you want to run for 5K, at that sub-20 pace, 4 minutes per kilometer. Imagine what that does to your belief system, along with the physical benefits and the physiological benefits. And this is my biggest bugbear with runners. It's not just aiming low because they want to stay safe. Somebody will post on the internet what their current time is and what they think they're capable of, and then other people will reinforce or reaffirm that message and that thinking based on their own experiences. When in actual fact, if you think about improving multiple of those 5 areas, the result will not just be linear, it will be exponential because you're in the banana zone, which means that each one of those differences that you're making will have an impact on the next and therefore your gains will compound. If this story resonates with you, let it be a reminder that with the right planning and structure, the right mindset and the right execution, the consistency and the discipline, you can achieve way more than what you currently think you can. But I'd love to hear about your story. Let me know in the comments below. What is your current 5K time? What's your dream time? And really, what is holding you back?